Alright guys, so we just got news that the level cap increase is coming in the next patch, which is probably just a few days away, if not tomorrow. So what I want to do in this video is talk about my philosophy behind how I'm approaching the level cap, the characters I'm doing, why I'm doing them, the modes that I think deserve more of your resources than others, and at the end I'll actually give you a full list of my exact plan on leveling characters. So let's start by talking about the philosophy for leveling. Like, how should you approach this new structure in the game? Well, understand a couple key concepts. Whales are going to whale, krakens are going to kraken. And if you're not in one of these two categories, just be patient. The day that the level cap increase is live, there's going to be some players who are instantly level 95, some players who jump up to 92 or 93, and then there's going to be people like you and I, or even people who are even slower, that won't see the next level for a few weeks, if not a month. I think last time the level cap happened, it took me, 3 to 4 months to even just hit level 90. It was something like that, and that was with me doing 50 core resets, getting whatever free energy they bought, free energy that they gave out, and I think I even bought one 3000 energy packet, which was the worst thing ever to do. Because it's not just leveling that you need to do. You'll get a couple baby rewards as you level, but understand that the price to bring up your characters to actually enjoy that new level cap is exorbitant. And just hitting those levels is not enough. So the Krakens are doing it because they have oodles and noodles of gold and training materials ready to go, and they're going to bring up basically all their characters within the first month. Whales maybe within the first 2 months. Normal people, or even dolphins like myself, it's going to take us like 6 to 8 months to do it. And just don't get down on yourself. Like, if you're used to competing with whales and krakens in Crucible or in War, understand that this is their time to shine. For the next 6 months, the competitive scene is going to be a little bit drier. Us as Super Troopers, we're no longer even thinking about trying to beat Legion or Mutiny in War. It's just not going to happen. We're already doing 300k punch-ups every fight. Now it's going to be 500k punch-ups every fight. Because I do expect the level increase to be pretty substantial as far as stats go. Because there's no gear involved, they need to give value to leveling these characters. So I assume the damage, health, and focus is all going to be pretty heavy into these levels. So just know where you stand in the game. Don't stress it. Don't open your wallet to rush leveling, because then you're not going to have the resources unless you're willing to open up your wallet to buy the super overpriced resources. So it's the story of Marvel Strike Force in a nutshell, right? Know your limits, play within it. But just because we're not racing to level, because we're not going to have the resources to actually level the characters, doesn't mean we shouldn't have some sort of plan or some kind of understanding of what we want to do. Last time, I kind of formulated a plan, but I didn't follow it to a T, and it ended up really hurting my roster progression and just where I was able to compete, because I was pretty scattered with what I was doing. So here's my roster, and as you see, I have a lot of max characters favorited because I'm getting ready for the level increase. This is not the order I'm going to level them in. We'll talk about that. This is simply where their power is currently at. But I have, what's that, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 characters favorited. A couple of them we're going to talk about because they're not as important as others. And we're definitely going to do like a tier list at the end. But not with the tier list website. I find that kind of hard to read. But what I want to do now is go through the various modes and the various structures of characters and talk about where I place the value, so you understand where this leveling priority list is coming from. But yeah, you see, I got a lot of familiar faces that you use every day here. Some War, some Crucible, some Arena, even some raid characters, even some more defense characters. But there's definitely a reason for that. So let's go into that now before we get overwhelmed, because 35 characters is too much to actually keep up with. So we do have to prioritize even more from this list. New characters. New characters always are the best. This is why they make money, because they make the new characters better than the old characters. When the Masters of Evil come out, I'm definitely going to stop increasing any of my older characters, and I'm going to bring them up to level 90. And if those characters are so good that they deserve to go up to 95 with what I consider some of the best characters in the game, then I'm going to do that as well. But pivoting from bringing up your main roster to keep up with the new characters, I do think is important if you are a spender. If you're buying these character offers, make sure you have the gold to level them up when you buy them. Otherwise, why the heck would you buy their shards so they can sit at level 1 and be unusable, right? So what I like to do is I like to have on hand about 15 million gold. Hold up, that's crazy. 50 million gold is a lot of gold, but they have said they're going to be giving us gold. So if you're not already there and you are a spender, I do suggest you get up to that 15 million gold and never spend past it unless you're willing to wait on the new character for a bit. Like for Masters of Evil, when Absorbing Man comes to the game, when the patch comes live, I don't feel a super big need to rush level him because without Kang and without Moonstone, how useful are they really going to be? So maybe I will still put more resources into my other more currently used characters, but I'll never drain my bank account, this being my gold and my training materials, because then all of a sudden what's going to happen is Moonstone's going to come out and be like, okay, whatever, I can still wait a little bit. And then Kang comes out and then I still have Absorbing Man, Moonstone, and Kang all at level 1, and they're not usable. And then my next couple weeks in Crucible are hell because my opponents have this instantly win team and I'm still stuck using Darkhold or Gamma on Unlimited or Wakanda respectively. So I will still keep up with my new characters as they come out, bringing them up to level 90, getting the right T4s on them, and then letting them chill there. Though I expect Kang to be so good, I'll want to bring him up to level 95. So there will be some exceptions there. We'll see when we know their stats and see how they actually act in game with the star levels we're going to unlock them at. Besides keeping up with new characters, though, I value Arena almost more than any other mode. It is your daily source of the premium currency, being those cores. And honestly, if they're an Arena character, it means they're so good they're going to be usable in a bunch of other modes. So I love my core Arena team, both on offense and defense right now, is 2099, Weaver, Hela/Emma, offense, defense, Red Hulk, and Dormammu. Now, of course, this is not an unbeatable team. No team is unbeatable. This also isn't the catch-all solution for offense because they can switch things up if they put in their Hela or Emma plus Hela or Kestrel. Or they could put a bunch of things that will switch us up, and I will have to, add some variety in what I bring. So these are the 5 core that I'm like, yeah, that's no brainer. Those are going to be the first ones I level up. But there's a couple characters that will also fit in this. Morgan can come in here if they bring too many Mystics and no Emma. Rogue can come in here if it's all messed up. Emma could be an offensive option, but do you really want to level your Emma? Like, is that necessary? So Arena is my first consideration. My second consideration is another game mode that we play absolutely daily, and that's going to be your raids. Not all your raid teams, because you don't need to level all your raid teams. Right now, your Death Seed at level 90, regardless of their stars, is probably walking over Doom 3.5. Same with your Rebirth team. Your Bionic Avengers, you probably have them at around 4 or 5 yellow stars, red stars to match, I would hope. And they can also get through Doom 3.5. A little bit sketchier, but they can do it. Then you have your Mystic team with your Eternals, Dormammu, Morgan, Deathpool, if you have those characters, or maybe you have Spider Weaver thrown in there at some point. They can also get through the section at level 90. So do you need to level them up to 95 for raids? I would argue strongly not. Like, I would never bring my Rebirth and my Bionic Avengers. I'm not going to rush those teams to level 95 because they don't have the value in the other modes, and they're doing what I need them to do in raids already. However, there's a section, and you know the section I'm talking about. I'm talking about the skill section, of course, that is a problem, and your characters are getting yeeted like crazy. That's going to be your skill section, of course. So I definitely am going to be leveling probably around the same time my Arena team, my Captain Sam, my Kestrel, my Shang-Chi. Sharon? I don't know. Sharon's a lot of kit base, just giving offense up to her team and doing Terminator rewinds. And you'll notice there's no 5th here, because Maria is hot garbage. She sucks, and hopefully they replace her with a new character instead of a whole new team. Hawkeye is used on Node 2, but he doesn't need to be big. Kingpin is used on Node 1, but he doesn't need to be big. Same with Zemo. You can use him on either of those nodes. He doesn't need to be big either. So it's those core 4, really those core 3, that I look to level the most. But those are like my daily must-use teams, so I want them to be good. So my Arena team and my Skill Raid team are probably going to get the nod for some of my early resources. And then we have the PvP modes, which is a lot more fun to talk about. So let's go talk about Crucible and War. So Crucible. Crucible is a much more appealing option with the level cap increase because the size, the scope of it, right? 6 teams on defense, 6, maybe 7 teams on offense is a lot less than 10 teams on defense and 11 teams on offense. Those numbers don't seem far apart, but when you think about it, it's 5 characters per team. It's like 35, 40 characters per offense and defense. It's a big, big difference. So I'm definitely going to be leaning into my Crucible characters before I even think about my War characters. And any kind of crossover is just an added benefit. So when I think Crucible, I think my Unlimited X-Men, I think my Gamma, I think my Wakanda team. These are all staples on offense or defense in Crucible. Wakanda's kind of just defense right now, right? And then I also think Tangled Web. But I got my Tangled Web already from Arena, so that's another great crossover. And they also cross over into War. So you're going to see there's some no-brainer characters that are going to heavily impact Crucible and also splinter out into the other modes. Like Gambit, I think, is the most important character on the Unlimited team, even though Rogue is the Horseman. I think he's the most important character. He doesn't have as much benefit in War and, of course, in Arena and Raids. Like, it doesn't exist. But he's so valuable in Crucible that he's going to be pretty high up there for me. But then there's the War, right? And War is such a bigger commitment. When I was talking about the competitiveness between like My Alliance and Mutiny and Legion, this is where it really separates as a level cap increase. This would be months and months away before we even start like getting close to challenging them again. And that would be my characters like Darkhold. Now, Darkhold right now, admittedly, is also a great Crucible team. So she could get higher up there. But Taskmaster, great War offense character, which is super important because these guys are going to have bigger Morgans now. And to meet that damage check, I need my Taskmaster to be bigger. But he's like a B, C tier Crucible character. Not used in Raids. Not used in Arena. Then I have Icarus. Icarus is definitely more valuable. He's not as good as Taskmaster in War, but he's definitely better than Taskmaster in Crucible. He can maybe be used in Arena. We're going to see how that goes when Apocalypse comes out. So there's some interesting characters that have not as much value as a character like Gambit does in Crucible, but more benefit in War that kind of bleed into Crucible, but not so much, right? So that's kind of how I feel about War and Crucible. I'm definitely going to be building Crucible-focused teams first that hopefully bleed over a little bit more into War. And then when I build up some of my War teams, I'm kind of be building up the War offense characters first that bleed over into Crucible the most. And that would be characters like Eternals, Undying, characters like that. And luckily Undying, or at least the Hela version, the Hela portion of it, does typically get used in Arena, which is a nice little crossover. And the final mode we got to talk about is Scourge. So bringing up your Scourge teams to level 95 is a terrible idea. Don't do it. There is zero reason to invest in Scourge teams right now. They are all getting multiple runs at this point. I think Famine has done 3 now. Morgan Le Fay's up to 5. Red Hulk's been twice, soon to be 3. Archangel's probably going to come back before you know it because Apocalypse is coming next patch. With that Strike Time release, they basically told us Archangel's coming back next patch, then his Saga, then Apocalypse is going to be unlocked. The leaderboards in these Scourge events is shrinking every single time they run. It's going to be easier to place higher. It's just not worth it to put investments in your Hero Asgardians, your Ravagers, your Minions, your Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. That one hurts the most now. Young Avengers, you can still get a little bit of benefit out of that, but they're falling off in both Crucible and War as well, so it's not really worth there either. Bionic Avengers, not great. War Dogs, at least for the Death Seed, you can still put a lot of investment in them. They're still very, very new. But on the whole, stop leveling your Scourge teams. Not worth it. Unless they announce some kind of new Apocalypse-like system for the next Legendaries coming. But right now, oof. All right, and that'll lead us to my actual leveling list. And this is something I'm going to be following very closely. And I'll tell you guys like how this is going to work. So right now I'm at level 90. Literally every character on this list I already have at 90. Not Quicksilver. He's just a stand-in for what new characters are going to be. They're going to be my top priority. A new character comes out, I'm going to stop what I'm doing, level them up to 90, evaluate them. Is it Kang? Is he worth being up to 95 immediately? Well, maybe he's going to jump the queue. Maybe he's going to jump into one of these 3 tiers. But once I have new characters level 90, I'm going to go down to tier 1. I'm going to bring all these characters up to whatever my current max level is. So let's say I'm level 91. I hit all of these tier 1 characters. I start dabbling into the T2 characters, but then I hit level 92. hit the brakes. Stop. No more on tier 2. Let's go back up to tier 1 and let's level them all up to 92 and keep going. Now, when this happens, it's very likely that all of a sudden I'm level 95. I have all my tier 1 characters up to 95, half my T2 characters, tier 2 characters rather, up to like 94, 93, and none of my tier 3 characters, they're all still level 90. That's okay. I think the way I have evaluated these characters, what modes they're used in, how frequently, how much you rely on them in those modes, either to get wins, to hold your arena, to get through raids. I think I evaluated this, at least for me, the way I want to do it. So, Dormammu, Spider Weaver, Red Hulk, that's like my trinity of damage for arena. Dormammu, I also use every single war and every single Crucible on offense. I value offense more. Spider Weaver, same thing. I think she's actually on war defense right now, but Crucible, I use her on offense every single day. Red Hulk, this one was tough because he's definitely an arena MVP, but in war and Crucible, I have him on defense. He is my next character, also slotted for a red star upgrade though, so if I'm going to do that on him, it also makes sense to double up that investment and put levels on him. I just think he's the best character in the game right now. Until Apocalypse comes out, and maybe even after that, his ultimate can 1v5 a team. If he gets that and he's moderately healthy, I've seen him beat an evenly powered unlimited team. 1v5. The rest of the Gamma died around him with his counterattacks and the bleed damage. They just lost. It was insane. Red Hulk is the best character in the game. Then Morgan, the former best character in the game. I sometimes use her in Arena. She's in War Defense, which sucks, but I rely on her so much right now for Wakandans in Room 6 on Crucible offense. So I really, really like my Morgan. I think she's one of the best scaling characters in the game. I think she deserved to get that nod up to tier 1. Then Icarus. You rely so heavily on the Eternal matchups for Icarus to get his double tap. If you don't level him up and your opponent is leveling their defense characters up and all of a sudden you stop getting the double tap where you used to always get it, it's going to be one of the biggest points of frustration. And if they're not leveling their characters up, well, you're just increasing the chance you get that double tap. So it's very, very, very powerful and it's very worth the investment. He definitely gets the nod for tier 1 for me. He's also one of the few characters, and actually this remains true for Weaver, Icarus, Kestrel, and Gambit. If someone told me they want to bring them up to 7 red stars, yeah, makes sense. Those are all amazing characters. Kestrel, raid MVP, skill section, huge in Crucible offense, huge in war offense, can be used in arena offense if the enemy has a Hela. What more do you want? She's an amazing character. She's also going to be used to unlock Apocalypse. Great. Gambit. This one was a tough pill to swallow, but I've won a lot of Crucible matches because of Gambit. So Gambit, used in arena? Nope. Used in raids? Nope. Used in war offense? No, mostly war defense. Used in Crucible offense? No, mostly Crucible defense. So this is why this one's so tough. He's basically a defense character. But I've seen him, and his ult in particular, wipe out giant teams. Like I just talked about how Red Hulk can solo a team with Gambit on it. That's true. Gambit can also wipe out an entire Undying Dorm Eternals team on a cleanup with his ultimate if he starts critting. So I do think he's powerful. I've won Crucibles on his back alone, and I'm not just talking about last season with Age of X. I'm talking about this season too. I've had him stop an enemy from getting a good 2-tap on my unlimited team, and then I won by efficiency. So I value Crucible so heavily that Gambit did get the nod up to tier 1. And then we go down to tier 2. Now these are very key characters in my roster that do a lot of interesting things, but I couldn't give them that nod up to tier 1. But I did place them in the order that I would level them. So Hulk, into Gamora, into the 2 Black Panthers, into Archangel. Archangel made it a little bit further down this list than I expected, mostly because he's so good in raids. He doesn't need the levels. He's great elsewhere, but he's also on defense for me. He's on defense in War and in Crucible, so he's like Gambit, but not as impactful as Gambit. Okay. Cersei, she's that Icarus counterpart. It's great if she can do extra damage. Her flips, she needs to survive in that Undying Eternals Dorm matchup, so it makes sense to bring her up just to keep her alive for that War matchup. Then Phyla-Vell. Now, this is kind of interesting that she would make it this high up this list. Infinity Watch, I still rely very heavily on to do these insane punch-ups, and if Phyla-Vell dies in one, if it's like, say I'm doing a Hydra World versus Infinity Watch, and Phyla-Vell dies before she can get the cleanses off, that match goes super south. So I need her to survive. It's pivotal in my Crucible success and in my War success. I don't think Infinity Watch is going anywhere. Obviously, they're not going to be used against Apocalypse because no safeguard for them or immunity or whatever it was. I think it's immunity. So there's that, but still an amazing team. Captain Sam gets the nod purely for raids, and it doesn't hurt that he's also used in War and Crucible offense. Nakia, huge in War, not so much in Crucible and on defense, but she does make this list. Doom, still very valuable. Agatha, Shang-Chi, and 2099. These three were tough. So Shang-Chi is huge in raids, but Crucible offense, he's kind of like he's not as valuable because he doesn't always have that offense up from Sharon. He still hits really hard, but not as hard, right? And then he's on War defense, but at least that War defense just became a nightmare because of Mobile Gamer. Thanks, by the way, Boomer, making that Captain America Heroes for Hire video. So there's that. So it's still useful. And 2099. 2099 was tough because he's used in all the most important modes for me, but his damage sucks. He's like a kit-based character almost. Like, he needs to land the stuff though, so the focus he'll gain is huge. Him not dying right away, so maybe he'll actually live to do his special, is also nice. But you just can't rely on him for damage. It's not what he's there for. He's like a support character for Weaver. And then tier 3, you'll notice we're completing a lot of teams here. So we're completing Gamma. Yeah, the full Gamma team is getting the nod before Unlimited, before Death Seed, before Darkhold. And the reason for that is they are pretty much the only War defense team that matters. And War defense does win wars. So they definitely had to be pretty high up there. Then I have Hela, and you'll notice Zombie Iron Man over at the other end there. They're kit-based characters, but they're kit-based characters that are used against the strongest enemies in the game. Your Gamma in War, versus your Gamma in War rather, and versus your Unlimited in Crucible. So Hela kind of needs to be able to survive, so extra levels on her will help. Omega Red's there strictly for War. Definitely he's fallen off of Crucible without that stage 6. Taskmaster again for War, not so much for Crucible. Koya finishing off, and you get it from there. I don't want to ramble on too long. The rest of the characters, they're very good characters, very crucial in their teams, but just not at the same level as what I perceive the tiers above them. You notice Rogue is all the way down there. She's great if you're trying to one-tap the team. She is the roadblock, and then Gambit popping off. But for most people, it's a 2-tap. If people are going to start trying that Gamma versus Unlimited and Crucible, I've seen it go south more than I've seen it go good. Maybe that'll change with the level cap increase. We'll have to see. But yeah, I just can't. I can't value Rogue over Gambit. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for the video. I could talk on forever about why I value these characters, particularly where they are, and why I wouldn't value other characters. If there's a character here that you think deserves more acknowledgement, or if I didn't bring them up at all, like if you want to make an argument for Hawkeye to be tier 1 above everybody else, I'm all ears. Let me know in the comment sections below, and we'll hash it out. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.